Dose, hello. My name is Carrie, and welcome back to Cheyenne Arapaho Productions podcast. As I mentioned before, last week we had aired a special episode with Dr. Natalie Youngbull in honor of Women's History Month. So for this month, we're going to do a special podcast series interviewing, highlighting Indigenous women's experiences. And so today we're going to focus on leadership. And I have some friends and some colleagues here to talk about their experiences with working at their tribal nations in their tribal education department. So we'll go ahead and get started with introductions. So if you can go around your name, where you've worked at, your experience, and also your academic background as well, because I think you all are very smart and distinguished people. So we can go ahead and get started with Tesia.
Bojo, Jijakwi Neshnabe Noswin, Tesia Zientek and Dejanakas, Shawnee, Oklahoma, and Dochbia, Oklahoma City, Edayan, Mako and Dodem, Neshnabe, and Dow. My name is Tesia Zientek. My Potawatomi name is Jijakwi, which means like a crane. I'm originally from Shawnee, Oklahoma, but I live in Oklahoma City now, and my family is Bear Clan, and I'm enrolled citizen Potawatomi. I serve as the Senior Director of Programs for ASIS, or the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. I joined ASIS last April, but prior to that, for 7 years, was the founding education director for my tribe, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. I attended college for undergrad at the University of Notre Dame, where I received my bachelor's in English, and then I attended Stanford University for my master's, where I received an MA in education policy. And I also have the honor of serving as the Oklahoma Council for Indian Education president, as well as the National Indian Education Association president, and really honored to be here.
Yes, and thank you for being here. I know you're very busy, ladies, so thank you for coming all the way to Concho, Oklahoma. We are honored to have you.
I am Sunny Hegwood. I am enrolled Comanche. I've been in higher education in one form or another for 20 years, but specifically tribal higher ed for 7 years. I served as the director of academics for Comanche Nation College until that college unfortunately was shut down, and then moved over to the Kiowa tribe as the tribal higher education grant program director. I attended undergrad at Oklahoma State University and earned my undergrad in sociology and Native American studies, and then moved over to the University of Oklahoma and earned my master's in sociology before moving to Arizona for several years for my PhD in American Indian Studies, and then came back home to work in tribal higher ed, and decided I really wanted to go for my master's in Indigenous Peoples Law. So I did that for fun.
Which Sunny is a whole doctor. She's Dr. Sunny Hegwood.
Yes, but I thought it was fun, and just to get some more education and learn more about Indigenous Peoples Law, and it was a fun program. But since leaving higher ed, I now own 2 businesses with my husband and work from home and do tribal higher ed in any way I can, because it's fun and interesting. And
for funsies, for real.
Yeah, for funsies, for real.
And she's a part-time hostess, party planner.
With the most.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you,
So
Sunny.
I get to hang out with you guys for fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Misty Boetteger. I am enrolled Wichita, and I also have a lot of Kiowa descent as well. So I like to say I'm the best of both worlds. I get to claim both. But currently, I am the Senior Director of Tribal Programs Expansion for a nonprofit called Sparkwill. I previously actually had a lot of different roles within our tribe, but I started as the education administrator there, and that was actually a new role there, and so I jumped into that. So for my own tribe, the tribe that I'm enrolled with, but I got my bachelor's degree at the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma in Chickasha, a liberal arts college, and then I took a little turn and had a couple of babies in between there, and then went back and got my master's degree at OU. So just been working for our tribe within the past 5 years. Went to the BIA for a little bit, but decided to come back to education because at the end of the day, that is where I belong. And I think that light bulb just came on here recently. So it's just been exciting. Just education, Native education itself is just, it's a whole world that there's just so many facets that
Absolutely.
we don't ever talk about or discuss. But I'm excited to be here, excited to share any experience that I have. And thanks for asking.
Thank you for coming. Amber?
Sti Hunt Tidish, Taritira, Amber Silverhorn-Wolfe, Kirikirish Duck Skis. So, my name is Amber Silverhorn-Wolfe. I am an enrolled citizen of the Wichita Affiliated Tribes. And like Misty here, I am Kiowa descent, probably more Kiowa than Wichita. But I'm also Cheyenne Arapaho. And my grandfather is Mexican, so I would like to shed light on that, the Mexican descent. So I'm super brown. But I have been in tribal education for about 7 years now. And I started working with Dr. Hegwood over here. She was my first boss in that. And I think that sparked a light within me because during that time I was doing my bachelor's and my undergrad is in psychology, minor in criminal justice. And that was from Cameron University, which is a local university close to where we are from. Then from there, I pursued my master's. I got my master's in administrative leadership with a focus on organizational leadership. And then about a year after that, I think since meeting Sunny, I didn't know that natives, were doctors. So, and, it's sad to say, but it's real. So, so I'm in a PhD program now. Lord willing, Creator willing, I'll be done next year. But I worked at the Tribal Education Department for the Wichita Affiliated Tribes, for the Kiowas first, for about, 2 years. Went over to the Wichitas to be their Education Services Administrator. Because Misty had moved up to our Tribal Administrator, the spot was open. Love education, and it gave me the opportunity to work with students K through 12 and higher ed. So I like that expansion part of it, being able to work with the younger group. But yeah, since then I've left in August and now I work for ACES, and I think with rebranding, advancing Indigenous peoples in STEM. But Tasia's my boss. I actually called in sick today, so she don't know I'm here. Not supposed to. No.
She knows now, right?
Yeah.
As you sit across from her.
Oh, by the way. No,
you're here? Oh, my God. It's small world, right?
But I've known all these ladies for a while and super excited to be here. So, aho and ha-ho.
Thank you, guys. Like I said, I know it is a drive out here to Concho, and I really appreciate that you all taking time out of your day. I know we had to schedule a whole month in advance because they're very busy women. We have a group chat. Some people get mad and sad because they're not getting picked up and you hate me now. I mean, these conversations are just wild sometimes. You don't even want to look at it. But a lot of surprises. But anyway, I just want to reiterate what I said on the last podcast, that I am very biased in that I think Indigenous women are the best. They're my favorite. They're the best people. We are mothers, aunties, daughters, partners, wives. We're so many things. In addition to that, we're also educators, we're advocates, but most importantly, we're leaders, and we've been leaders for our tribal nations at one time or another. And I really want to talk about that experience because I love podcasts, right? I listen to a number of podcasts. I read books all the time about leadership, but most of the time it's coming from either a white male perspective or from a white female perspective, which you can take some things out of there. But I just think that working for tribal organizations, it's so different and so unique in a number of ways, good and bad. But I really want to talk about those experiences because there's not enough literature, there's not enough podcasts, there's not enough anything talking about women working for tribal organizations, but specifically tribal education departments. So like the ladies have mentioned, we all work in different areas of Indian education, and it's this wide umbrella if you're not familiar with it. So of course you always hear about JOM, Title VI, higher education, but we don't really ever talk about TEDs, TEAs, and there's really this specific niche, I feel like, that you don't know unless you're in it, and then you're exposed to maybe TEDNA and that network, or we just all see each other at different meetings. And that's how we all met, because we were going to TEDNA meetings, we were going to NIA, we were going to tribal consultations. And really, I don't know how we all became friends. We were all colleagues.
And that's one story I did want to share, because I was thinking about you guys about a couple weeks ago and just thinking, where did I meet them? How did I know that? But then the story popped into my head. It was Connecticut. We were at Connecticut.
Yes.
And I
NIA.
had, yes, and I had not met, I had known Sunny, just kind of known Sunny. I didn't really know Sunny like I know her now. Like, I know Sunny now.
Oh, no.
So I don't know. I think she invited me out
we
to
went
eat
to
lunch. Yes. And that was the first time I had met you guys at that point. So, it meant a lot to me, because that including someone,
Right.
not even knowing who they are, where they're coming from, what they're standing for, but including someone. And that was made an impression on me, moving forward, just knowing that there is a group of women that, they're nice to each other. They're nice to me, and we're not fighting each other, and we're not, how it can get sometimes.
Right.
But yeah, just going to lunch with you guys, and just from that point on, it's like we just clicked.
Right.
And I love the fact that our group is so diverse in our ways of thinking. Our ages are different. That what we all hold at home is different, but we come back to the table for the same thing,
Correct.
which is tribal education. And that's what I love about our group. Our friend, it's been a great friendship. You guys have been there for me in my life, but also not in the personal life, but professional life. How you included me that day. So that's the story. I was just thinking about that.
I remember that lunch.
Yeah,
I think
so.
we were all,
We went to that Italian place
yes,
and all
that
sat around.
wasn't that good
on
of food, but I think we were all kind of stink at first, like, oh, who's that? Who's this person?
Just
But
stink, guys.
1-star Yelp review.
But and then OC, right? Somehow we all end up on the board at OC at the same time, and we were just wild, I think, and a little rugged. But I think that's really what's connected us, I think, too, because like you said, you're able to be yourself. We're able to be ourselves with one another, and we're also accepting. And I think that's what's so special about you all here. But in addition to being great friends, but then it's also, like you said, we're bringing in this whole different experience that not a lot of people have. So that's really what, like I said, I want to talk about today, because hopefully somebody's in these situations, they can navigate that space. And I know right now you all have moved on from your education departments, but I'm going to bring you back and talk about some of that trauma. No,
that tribal
I'm just
trauma.
Kidding. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. So we can go ahead and get started, and we can just speak freely. I'm just going to ask a question if you guys want to kind of talk about it. But thinking back to those days, and it wasn't that long ago for some of you all, but talk about what are the biggest challenges of being a female Indigenous leader at your tribe and leading a department. Maybe talk about what your department looked like, who did you serve, but what were some of the challenges that you encountered while being there?
Well,
Who wants to start?
Yeah,
I know.
God, it's like, where do you start? But I remember that when I first started working for my tribe in the education department, it was very stagnant. I think, and I think that's a lot of things. You can look at your tribes, or any tribe actually in general, and go look at their education department and see what's the feeling when you walk in there. You know what I mean? So I think I love how now in 2024, how the whole feel of everything is different, because people like us at this table have made those changes. But prior to that, going into that position, it was like, just like a drab feeling, nobody knew, what do we do with education? We just give them their application and we give them their check, and that's what we're doing. So when I went back to my tribe to work for mine, number one, I was a little bit younger than the director that was in there at the time. So, and actually I was younger than both of my two workers in there. So that, number one, going in there, someone they never knew, trying to say she's the boss now from a newly created position in education. It was kind of very intimidating for me, because I didn't know. I've never worked for my tribe before, so I didn't know what to expect. But
that's a big one. Like when you talk about the stagnant complacency and how Tesia was coming in with I mean, there wasn't even an education department there.
Non-existent. Yeah.
When we went into the Kiowas, like Sunny had to go through, a lot to get back on track to where we are today, and that silo mentality that we all had to experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of building something from the ground up, but they had always been there, right?
Right.
But they weren't always there, So having to go in there and, like, for me, my office was a closet, and when I went in there, I barely had a desk in there. So I open it, I'm like, where's the rest of, is this it? Like, and then that was it. So I had to go in there, and that whole feeling of, who is she? And we're not going to listen to her. That type, when I first got, so I just pulled my sleeves up and just started going through my office, which was my office, and going through, I mean, they had brooms in there, and it was the closet. So that's how literally a typewriter was on that desk, and I was hyperventilating. Like, we're using a typewriter?
Yeah,
like,
I remember that story.
gosh,
I remember you saying,
Like,
what do you have over there?
Like, I would like a good typewriter, but
and then when I got rid of that thing, you thought I got rid of one of her kids because her typewriter, poor thing. So, but just going in there, it was like you had to create something when there was nothing, and then you had to do it on your own. I mean, because I didn't have a bunch of people hyping me up like we do now, but Tesia
hyping you, have something to go from, something to start from, like those things. It's sorry.
Just
Did y'all hear that?
scoot forward.
I'm about to stand up.
She gave you a
Getting all
side eye.
riled up.
Y'all want me to hit the table or not? I don't know.
Well, Amber, you remember when we were working together, there had been many years where the program was suspended through the BIA. So when we came in, we were tasked with getting it back on track and getting our funding back where we could work with it freely, because there for that first year, I think we had to work hand in hand with the BIA on every single scholarship period.
Yes.
And how time consuming, and how, that doesn't benefit the students, right? And you couldn't help that, because that was something that was already there happening when you got there. And I think, like, that's some of the stuff that we deal with. It's like they just put education in the corner over there, and then they put you in there. Okay, now here, that cheers. Now make it wonderful.
All they're handling is scholarships. Turn my app in. Where's my money?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, make it as good as you can, but we're not going to give you more money.
Yes.
Not going to let you hire more people. No,
Absolutely.
At our tribe, similarly, we had education services scholarships. But as a tribal citizen, as a tribal member, like growing up, you had to go to 3 different departments, turn in 3 different paper applications with different deadlines. And so it was a huge mess, and it was not catered to the student. It was not catered to the families.
Right.
And so having the opportunity to build that department and figure out what I wanted, wished I had whenever I was going through school and growing up, was a huge honor. But yeah, you're starting from, I had no idea what a tribal education department could or should look like. So for me, TEDNA, Tribal Education Department's National Assembly, was so formative. That's where I first met Carrie, starting to understand, here are how some departments could look, and then really getting to start to dream and be resourceful.
Yes.
What could we do beyond just scholarships, and how could we make the scholarship process better, just as a starting point?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and creating that visibility, right? Because you talked about, you walk in, what's the feeling like? Was it even there?
Yeah.
Growing up, I didn't know we had education, anything. So here I am, 100 years old, trying to go to school, knowing that my tribe will help pay for that. I didn't know that as a kid. So I think everyone at this table has done so much in tribal education to bring forth so many opportunities that we didn't know were there when we were younger.
Right.
So I love that.
I always
all of
think
us.
Networking too. Here's the joke. Everybody works for tribes. And what do you do when you work for tribes? You travel. You're always going on travel.
Vegas, baby.
Yes.
I just got friends.
Yeah. And I'm not saying we didn't travel.
Right.
But I think that if you take that travel and you network, and I know that word is used, we throw it around so much, but I'm telling you, how many opportunities
right.
at this table right here, how many opportunities have we had? And also and another thing is you find an opportunity. If it doesn't fit me, oh, I know my girl Carrie. Let me tell Carrie about that. She would be great for that. So I love that our group does that. You know, that we're always looking out for each other. But that networking is it, and has been it for us because, like I said, we met, and then we just kind of started working. We started bouncing information off each other, not knowing like, hey, how are they doing it? Let me see what Tasia's got going on here. How is she handling this kind of thing? But networking has played a big part, or it does for
well,
tribes.
and that's
Absolutely.
the first. You mentioned you had met me before we went to that NIA conference. I remember the first time you came in my office because I had only been there, Amber, like 3 months or something?
We'll see. Yeah.
When at the Kiowa tribe, when you were hired by the Wichitas, and I remember you come into my office and you're like, you know, how's it been going? What are you doing about this? What does it look like? And I remember when I was hired, I reached out to another person I know in higher ed. So having those connections was a lifesaver. And we could bounce off, ideas off of one another and plan for the future, whether it was writing a grant together or, how does your scholarship process look? You know, what do your guidelines look like? Do you accept grad students or, whatever it may be? That was a challenge for us that day. We were like, well, let's get, Misty on the phone, or let's call, Carrie or whoever.
I remember, I was thinking too, when COVID was first hitting, we all got on a Zoom, if you remember that, because we were trying to figure out, we've been adding all of these events and these services, and now what do we do whenever we can't meet in person and we're all working remotely? And so I think, Misty, you got us all on a Zoom just to talk about what we were doing.
Right.
And it's just so powerful to hear different ideas and see people you really respect, how they're approaching these problems. It's transformative.
And you're always asking that question, well, if you did this, how did you do that? Tell me how you did that. And I think that's an important conversation because people come and have ideas all the time. And how come you're not doing this? Why aren't you doing this? But then it's like, well, you're missing that whole piece. Like, give me a solution how to do it. But no, part of our job is figuring out how to do it and figuring out things on the job, because it's like you just kind of are thrown into these positions. You're expected to know a number of things. So maybe share about that. What was your responsibility like? Okay, so now you have to manage staff. That's a whole other issue. Now you have to be responsible for students and families. You have to educate your tribal leaders about what you're doing. You have to know budget. You have to know how to advocate. You have to know BIA. That's the short list, but this is so many responsibilities, but it's such a long list. And how do you even perform that job, and how do you do it well? How did you all handle that big responsibility, and did you even understand that responsibility when you stepped into that position?
No. Not at all. No. And it was kind of like a Pandora's box, right? Because you think, okay, I'm just responsible for applications and scholarships and checks and the mail. And, you think about those things. But then
because that's how we came as students ourselves.
Yes. So then you get the job, and then you're like, wait, so what's going on with JOM over here? So then you open that little box of JOM, and then boom. Then there's all these little problems that you find, not problems, but issues you're going to have to navigate. Then you start connecting the dots. Oh, well, so then that's just JOM. Then you're over here. Then you start looking at, we need to make a scholarship list. And then that's a whole Pandora's box too. So it's like, it was very overwhelming for me personally because it was not, I didn't have anyone to tell me guidelines, but yet they were, like you're saying, expected you to perform at a certain level, but then they didn't even know what level. But then you had to go back and talk to your tribal leaders and explain to them all of the problems that you're having that they never told you about, that they didn't know about. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was like a spider web.
And all of the barriers that your tribal leaders put before you, so that you think you have all these ideas and things to move forward to progress.
Yes.
Either this program, JOM, adult ed, higher ed, working for K through 12, for this, for that, do these tribal consultations and all these things that you want to bring and do.
Oh, they just threw that in there too, right?
Yes. And then you're met with that, and it's like very frustrating. So like, we talk about experience, we talk about, what it's like. I know that for me, when you have a good leader like Sunny, I will always put her on a pedestal as like being one of the best leaders I had within a tribal organization, because not only is she super smart, but then also her ability to dream and visualize something different. We collaborated with so many people, brought in so many good things. Even before we worked for ACES, we had grants, working, ACES, bringing STEM into our small communities. Like, there are so many ways that we've grown, and I think that sharing with each other, not holding back and not being afraid, like, oh, I don't want to share this knowledge with anyone because I want to get the credit. That's never been, anyone at this table has never been that way. And I appreciate that, like, so much. You wouldn't even know.
Yeah, it seems like that whole idea of, and I'm just speaking for myself, you go into a job and you've got some older ladies that, work there as well. And sometimes people think you want their job, and they don't want to share information with you because you're going to want their job. And that's not the case. Like, I just help me. Just
calm down, Kaku. I'm going to help you. Go away.
Well, when I was hired on, there was no staff. So it was just me in a room with a desk
with so
and
many
some
files.
Old files. Oh man, there were files. And they were not organized in any comprehensive way. So I was lucky enough to find Amber and to help me. We're like, what are we going to do about this? So it was.
So she thought. Now she's stuck with me.
No, that's it. When I first came in, we were consolidating our housing scholarship, our BIA higher ed, and then our tribal roles, the scholarship we paid from our tribal revenue. And so it was these monster spreadsheets that really didn't make a lot of sense in a lot of ways, and really trying to think, how can we make this more user friendly? So we moved it online, tried to consolidate everything, did a huge push to make that be easier on our students. And then, because that's really all they wanted me to do when I first started, was to do scholarships. We were like, look, if we put this online and we automate, we've still got time and we can do more things and we can serve our students in more ways. And so it's just one of those things that it was sort of, I had to prove myself that I could do this baseline thing and do that well, and then free up, and then kind of maybe on the side without them even really knowing, like, ask forgiveness, not permission. Like, hey, look what we were able to do with the budget and the little bit of staff that you gave me. And then, a lot of times tribal leaders like education, at least, they like to brag about and explain sort of the successes and celebrate those. So once you get to that point, it's a very popular program, obviously, with the public, but there are challenges to get the funding and the support you need to get to that point.
Good quality people, like trying to hire good quality people. And when I was over at the Wichita's, we had hired Elena. And Elena was young, wet behind the ears. She really didn't know too much, but she was a young mom, and you were asking about leadership. And as a woman and having someone underneath you that's young and just wants to learn everything, I appreciated Elena. And she's still like that, and she's still there, and she's doing well for our tribe right now. But she was scared when she came in, but I love being able to. You're a mom too, like we talked about. We're sisters and we're aunts and all those other things, wives, and having to try to mold her and guide her in that aspect, because we're bosses at work, but we're also the bosses at home too. I mean, we've got to manage a lot of stuff. So I love that when you have staff underneath you and you can kind of be an example for them as well, and just kind of help her. And then Amber came along afterwards, and that, they just took that program and just ran with it. And I love the work that they were doing, and the fact that Elena's still in there, still struggling. And education is hard, She goes to Gracemont, and that little tiny school has got how many Indian kids? Probably just a handful, but she goes and works for them. And it's a school that looks like it probably should close, but it's not. And that's education. That's what Indian education is right there. Going when no one else can see you, and going when you're tired and you got to rush back and go pick your kid up from daycare, or you have to go, those types of things.
Right. Oh, I like that you brought that up, like the whole reason us being here with education, with leadership. Just thinking about, it was on the tip of my tongue. You mentioned Elena, but the roles that, I lost it. But okay, well, thinking along those capacities of everything that we have to do, everything that's thrown on the table, we have had life experiences where we are leaders. But it's like this idea for women, and I know in a lot of Native cultures, like, we're not at a level that men are. And some of y'all know, hey, some of y'all have even treated probably even one of us at this table in that space that we don't know what we're doing. When we do, like, I promise you, like, there's so many different ways in which you take what you do within higher education and you try to elevate it. It's not just you come in and do these things, which we've talked about, but the education part that goes into it, the education that we've obtained, you know, on this other side, this colonized, yes, viewpoints, but then also integrating our culture and our language within everything that we do.
Yes.
In these overlapping capacities. It's like, there's so much more to that. And the things that we've tried to do, I know from my experience with the Wichita Tribe, I think anyone that knows me knows my experience with the Wichita Tribe. Leadership has to be a part of that. They have to have trust in their employees. They have to know when they put good people in positions that
work.
They're going to come and do their job. What did Cat Williams say? Show up. But yes, it's like,
hey, are you going to start spilling secrets and teas like that?
So I have a question for you all. Do you all view yourselves as leaders?
I do. I used to, you probably would ask me that 2 years ago, and I would have said, no, but I do. I'm a leader, and I'm proud to say that I am. I'm not just a leader. I try to be a leader everywhere that I go, and I try to be my lead, who I am. You know, I don't want to go in there and steal someone's thunder. I'm going to go in there and do what I love and do it the way that I can do it. And it's not about me. It's about sharing for somebody else, in case somebody else, like another Elena behind me, like, I want you to do this too. Like, we need more of leaders in our communities. So,
and I think even to the outside world, maybe even Hawk, after hearing our introductions, he would say, of course you're leaders. But when I asked, everybody took a deep breath and nobody responded. Why is that?
I think for me, I had to rethink what a leader was. And I sort of had in my head what a leader was, and that it was something that I didn't really connect with. It was somebody who I think was really authoritative, who was very demanding, maybe was, you know, the best public speaker, a male, yep. All these
confident,
things. Yeah,
or
confident.
a woman that looked like a man, which is okay. I'm just thinking of somebody. I'm just playing.
But for real, I sort of thought that's what a boss, that's what a leader looks like. And really, in the last year or two, I've been thinking about who really has been a leader in my life, and it's my grandma, it's my Nokomis, it's my mom. And so, really rethinking. You know, my grandma she had to go back to get her GED, you know, years after she dropped out of high school, right? She didn't finish 8th grade, had to go back and do high school, do a GED. And so thinking about her, though, being an education leader for me in a different way, and really doing it through softness, really doing it through inclusion, really doing it through empowering our family, and thinking about leadership in that capacity, that feels more comfortable to me. And that's something that I'm still kind of wrestling with, and it does make it hard to say, yes, I'm a leader, but it's that shifting of that definition of that narrative.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. Like how we define things and how we view it. And of course, like coming from Native culture, like we're not going to sit here and say, I did something or, you know, I am this.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think everything that we've ever done together and the way that you all perform within your current capacities, your past capacities in higher ed has always been serving, thinking about our students, having this vision of how do we serve our students the best. And that's why we do the work that we do, because we see that. We want that for our kids. We want that for next generations. We want to make this department, this world better than we found it. So I think that's always been there for us. So when I think about leadership, like I've been in the military. I was a staff sergeant at one point. So I was like overseeing soldiers at an early age. I joined when I was 17. So I'm not new to leadership. I'm learning from different styles. From my job was majority men, you know. So I remember people telling me like, you're not even supposed to be here. Women, they just opened that up. So there's like not the sense of belonging, right? But I've always had a strong resilience to want to do something. If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. You know, I don't care who has something to say.
And that's
y'all
why
know
we
that
love
about
you.
me. So then you go in and it's like, I went through my master's. I have a whole master's and it is organizational leadership. Do you know what that means? Like I learned some things about leadership from this perspective, but I use those tools in everything that I do. Like there's some good things there, but it might not be applicable to our Native communities. So, but let someone tell it. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about leadership, and that's fine. But during that course, we did a whole I think it was like a survey or something. But I came out like all my peers defined me as like serving leadership, because everything that I do, like yes, I want to lead. I want things to look this way, but I want your opinion on it. I want you to be on board.
I want to
that.
include you in
I don't
these
want to
decisions.
tell you what
Yes.
to do, how to do it, when to do it.
Yes.
But if you see what I'm seeing, like how can we get there together?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And that's the good thing about women too, because I'm not the smartest one in the room.
No.
I don't know everything, and I am
I'm
not.
agreeing for you.
Y'all all agreed a little bit too much there.
Oh, you're right.
I didn't expect all of those, but you have to, as women, your mind has to have that humble mindset of I don't know a darn thing, and I want all the smart people on my team.
Yes.
I want all the smart
You
people.
want to be surrounded with
Yes,
those who
yes.
support your vision and
I'm not
support what you're doing, and you want to do the same for
and
them.
don't get intimidated.
And-
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So
And that's why I had that reaction when you asked that question. Like, I agree with what you guys are saying, because I don't feel I want to be humble, and that's just who I am, and I don't want to be like in the spotlight in that way. I want to work towards something as a team, and I'm a work in progress.
Absolutely.
I recognize that about myself. My husband and I own
Self-awareness.
businesses, and I feel this is a complete diversion from education. So I am learning the ropes in that kind of sense. So I feel like, even as a business owner, I don't think I'd say, yes, I'm a leader. I'm a work in progress. But I like being part of a team and working toward a
Yes.
common goal.
Well, and team where you don't know who the leader is. Like, I mean, we
Yeah.
have some heavy hitters at this table right here, and who is going to say that? Who's the leader of our group? We know, but how can you say?
You're right. But also, that also leads me to say that why do we have to be humble? Why do we have to doubt ourselves? Why do we have to rethink leadership? Why do we have, you know what I mean? Why do men do that? I don't know. Hog, do you do that? No.
Put them on the spot.
But is that just what women do? You know what I mean? Because we're like almost rationalizing why we're not leaders. Let me tell
Right.
you, like, I'm not going to label myself as that.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, we are learning about leadership from, white mainstream perspective most of the times. But we are in positions that are, we're in professional positions. We're working for professional organizations. So we're in the space, right? We are leaders. We're called upon by your administration or whoever, where you're applying for these jobs. They're asking you to fill, asking you to serve. So why not in this space are we still not identifying as leaders?
Well, what's interesting about that is if you were to ask us at this table, are you a leader at home?
Yeah.
Would you be more confident in saying, yes, I'm the leader at home. I take care of
Absolutely.
everything.
The boss.
No
The boss.
comment.
I am the boss.
No comment.
Nothing. I make all
My
the
husband's
decisions.
birthday. I don't want to upset him.
Yeah, whatever it is,
He
day.
gets one day to be the leader.
But right,
you're
you're
probably
right.
right.
You're
Well,
right.
you take care of the kids, you take care of the house, you take care of your
But
husband
even
and
still,
things.
like when we have these conversations
Yeah.
about the things that we're doing at home, when
Yeah.
we have our sessions, like we still don't say like use that term or even
No.
define ourselves in that way.
no, we don't
But-
say
we
leader.
don't?
Or, no,
No.
but
But also that also leads me to ask you that I almost think that we are thinking about what people are going to think about us calling ourselves leaders. So what is someone going to say that, oh, she called herself a leader and she's confident, and so people aren't going to like her, or you know what I mean? So
like subconsciously
yes,
thinking
are
that
we
because
subconsciously worried about perception or what people think of us, because if we're a little too confident, or you're not humble, or you're like, oh, I'm a leader. Yes, I'm a leader. Absolutely.
Well, and then think about that perspective as far as like, okay, so I'm married to a Kiowa, and for the Kiowa, the men are that's it. You know, the men are the ones who make the decisions. They are the ones who are the one, you know, control everything, and he's the head of the household. And I've always had a problem saying like I'm out doing my job and I'm a leader in my job. That's my mindset. But when I go home, yeah, I do run that ship, but my culture, my husband, his tribe, he's Kiowa, and men are it for that's just how it is. And when we, you know, go to our doings and our ceremonies and stuff, men are the ones who eat first, and men are the ones who talk. The women are the ones who are in the kitchen, and I'm in the kitchen doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So sometimes that, to me, for myself, that plays a part in how I hold myself. It's like you have to walk different ways to do what I would love to go home and boss and go to our doings and say, hey, yeah, I'm talking, you know, and what would they, you know, so I that's one thing that I have to deal with as well, you know. So how is it for CNAs? You know, are y'all the same way? Or men run the thing? And
yes. But also we are currently in the professional space still. However, sometimes, like you said, that may overlap, depending on the situation, depending on who's, you know, asking the question or who is in charge. But like I said, we are women, right? And we have been in these positions of leadership. We've been in these decision-making positions. I mean, at some point, your tribe, your administration has trusted you to make the best decision possible. So why? I mean, maybe. But you know, we are in these positions for a reason. So
I feel like,
do you know what I'm trying?
Yes, like yes, there's that perception part of it. I mean, do I see myself as a leader? Yes, in some capacities. Do I want to use the word specifically that? I don't know. Like, if I say anything positive about myself, which it's hard to do, it's like, you know, you want to be, what's the other word? It's not advocate, but someone that the students look up to, right? Like,
like a role model?
Yeah, like a role model.
One of those.
Yeah. I promise I'm still in school. So. But no, it's like you want to be a shining light in the dark, right? Like, I feel like for me, through my life, like I've never really had someone that, you know, just this person I'm a follow. And the ones that I have, like whether it be education or the military or things like that, they're passed on, or some of them have, you know, led a light and then they've turned over to drugs, to alcohol. And, you know, it's like, I don't want to label myself as something, you know, be like me. I want to be that, but I do want to set a positive example. So like using that term sometimes, it just feels like you're
all the pressure.
I know.
The pressure, right. But then also like you're putting that label on yourself. If the things that I'm doing are can be defined as being a leader of leadership, then that's on you if that's what you want to call me.
It should come from someone else.
Yeah.
That's
like,
how, yeah.
That humble part of it, because I've seen
you're
certain
a leader.
Leaders, you know, put themselves and say, Women's History Month. They even asked for some of our bios, our photos. Currently, whenever I was working at the Wichita Tribe, I'll just say it, and they didn't use none of our photos, none of our bios, highlight any of our Wichita women who were in, or even not even Wichita, Native women who were in director positions, administrator positions, leadership positions, at all for you know, Women's History Month. But they did for one, and it was our president, you know, but she has labeled herself as a leader, as this, as that, which is fine, you know, if you believe that. But I can tell you from a lot of perspectives, like, that's not what it is. So whenever you do that and put your, you know, label yourself, it's like, it's kind of a, you know, turn off. I don't want to use that, but it is not like,
It's not a common thing. It's not common. We're not all walking around saying, I am the leader. I'm the leader.
Well, and
It's very like big-headed or
that resonates with me because it's like, I never want to be seen as apart from the work, right?
Yes.
Like we are in this together.
yes.
And so I never want to be like, hey, you do this. I'm going to sit over here and do whatever else, right? But you're going to do this. Like, I want to be a part of the work. And so that resonates with me, Amber, that I want to do things in a way that others would hopefully, maybe might see as a leader. But if not, then that's me. That's what I need to do more of. And I'll also say that beyond kind of like my family and, my grandma and my mom that I mentioned earlier, it's not until last April that I worked for an organization where there was a woman, particularly an Indigenous woman, at the very top. So it's also due to lack of representation that I think made it hard for me to see what an Indigenous woman leader, like I said, at the very top, what that version of leadership could be.
Right.
And that's been, life-changing for me to really feel like somebody who shares a lot of my values and culture is the one who's leading the way.
Right.
But God, what happens though whenever we do have a woman who is the head cheese and she's the cream of the crop up there,
That's true.
and she's just not what you think a leader should be. Like, how do you navigate through that? You know what I mean? Like,
But what do you all think a leader should be?
Well,
Female.
And isn't it a shame that there's so few examples?
Yeah.
That one kind of bad example can really
Yes.
turn your mind like that. Whereas
Yes.
for men, I don't see one bad male leader and think, well, dang, like
Yes.
it takes a lot more than that, and there are plenty of them. No, but like for real,
Yeah.
it's just you don't have enough
Misconceptions.
examples to really
Yes.
make a strong representation.
So a good leader for that, I could take characteristics from everyone at this table, like someone who's honest, someone who's okay with being wrong, someone who can, take that criticism, take other people's ideas, that can work with other people. Like I envision these things. And like I said before, it's like, if you don't see it that way, like, what do you see at the end of this? What are you doing this for? And if it's kind of, we're on the same field, like we can work together. We can find a commonality to work towards that, as opposed to if you just see yourself in this capacity and you're not willing to look around, it's just not going to work. You're going to be stuck in the same mindset for a while. So they have to have a vision. They have to have you think of all the greats that when you think about someone who is a leader, what do they possess? Whether it be like someone like Martin Luther King, like known nationally, but even your native leaders, even if it's your male leaders, like what do you see in them? Someone that's strong, someone that's understanding, someone that's of the people, for the people. There's so many things,
and not
good
just
things.
and not just certain people
Yes.
that will listen to a wide variety of people, not just those close to him or her who
understand like the multiple,
Voices that
multiple voices that we hold as individuals. I'm a she, her. I have family that might be of a different gender, and who am I as a leader to say what's important, what's not important? Changing narratives, being there to support. Our other tribal member. We have tribal members who aren't just full blooded Wichita, they're Kiowa, they're Black, they're Mexican. That's my daughter. Like, she's a mix of everything, and she's representing that. And I guarantee you my tribe has not been there to support her during her endeavors. She was like one of these, I could go on and on. But I know that for certain people, certain families, they get highlighted, which is great for them. But don't forget about your people that, that you don't see every day. So, sorry.
Does anybody else want to answer that question? What
Sonny was saying something.
makes
I
a
cut
good
her off.
leader?
No, I just jumped in. I was trying to.
Oh, you cut me off.
I think I
cut
did.
her off.
Well, let me go again.
Don't anger Amber.
Friday, Amber.
Again.
I know.
Anger again. Sorry. It's the second time for me today. 2 strikes.
Well, and you think about like being passionate too, because as women, what's the cliche? What do they say about us when we're in leadership? What's the one thing?
We're emotional.
We're emotional.
Yes.
We cry. We blah blah blah. And I'm not gonna lie, like I am passionate about the things that I feel that are important. So if someone says something to me that I disagree with, and I can be very respectful, but that's when my emotions come in, and I'm really passionate about certain stuff, and that's what I want for our leadership. If you're a woman and you are ahead of something, then you should be passionate about that and not be. And I used to apologize because of who I am. I used to apologize because I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm at that point where I'm not apologizing for anything anymore. Like, I am busting through that darn door, and you're going to see and you're going to know if that's something that I'm passionate about. But if there's something that I don't know about, I'm not going to pretend that I know about it. I'm going to sit back and let the people who know about it tell me about it. And so I can
said
learn
what I said.
Right.
Well, and I think that passion is such a big piece. And then also vision, right? Like,
Yes.
I want a leader who can see past tomorrow, who can see past this generation, and can paint it for everybody, right? And then we all get to be part of that project, that program, that organization together, because we're working toward a common goal. So I want a leader who's authentic, who's not afraid to be themselves, who is passionate, and who has a vision.
Has a vision and then has the action behind it. Like, yes, I can see this, but if you're not allowing your departments, your programs, your people
The capacity.
to have a voice and then to support them in reaching those things, then, check yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, having that ability to check yourself, Misty said, to if you don't know the answer, then ask. And I see a lot of leaders who, will either pretend to know the answer, or will ignore something to get to whatever their vision may be.
Who does that?
no, tell us.
Name them.
But having the strength of character to ask those that know or know, who are smarter than you, who hopefully you surround yourself with,
Absolutely.
to help along that path.
And to model that, it's so powerful to see leaders who model not knowing, who model making mistakes, because we're all there. But if you think that it's not okay or accepted, I mean, that's where it gets really powerful to see them also show that humanity.
Yes, the humanity. And I forgot to even mention, like, how Tesia is, like, my boss now. Like, she's phenomenal in her role. Like, there's so many things that I learned from her when we meet every week. And maybe some people might view that as whatever, because she's a woman, because she, whatever. But man,
How dare
this
she?
woman is so organized, so thoughtful, so just accepting of different ideas and trying to incorporate those. She listens to everybody. I could have the worst comment ever, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we can try to see. You know what? Are you saying this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I meant in better terms." But no, like, phenomenal, because I mean, even at the role that she's at, like, in everything that she does. She mentioned, being president of TEDNA, NIEA, OC, working on so many different things. Like, how do you have time to listen to people in that? And she has, she just, what's the word? Emanates leadership in, I mean, how do you do that? How can, I want to be Tesia when I grow up. And she's the youngest in our group.
I'm glad you're saying that. You're forgiven for taking a sick day today.
For calling in.
After that comment, yes. You need off
Do you want
tomorrow
to raise?
So let's go back and let's circle back to these positions.
Circle back.
All right, you have this tremendous responsibility as overseeing a department, as doing all of these things, having a vision, carrying it out, managing people, going to tribal consultations, a number of things. So, like, you have this tremendous responsibility. And how do you carry that? How did you carry that? How did you manage work-life balance? We talk about that a lot.
Having
Are you
people
taking care?
to lean on.
Yeah, are you taking care of yourself? Are you resting? Are you drinking water? Tasia never drinks water. This girl
right now.
But I mean, how do you do that, right? And if you're a mother, and if you're a partner, or how do you balance all those things? How do you manage? And you're carrying this huge responsibility, and you're a student, and you're doing all of these things. So tell us.
Gracefully, without flaws. Next.
I answered for all of us.
Well, I read something many years ago that stuck with me about having like balls in the air. And some of them are bouncy balls and some of them are glass balls. And your job is to juggle these, right? And the glass ball, that's your job, right? Some of these balls are going to drop. You know, that's just life.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be late, picking up your kid one day, or you're going to not finish part of that project one day, or you're going to, skip out on drinking water one day, or not getting enough sleep, whatever it may be, because you do have a lot of responsibilities for your family and for your job and for yourself. But, some of those balls are going to drop, and hopefully they're the bouncy balls, right? And you know what? You can pick it back up tomorrow. The glass balls are the ones that the most important things. And you as a leader have to decide what is most important to you. Your mental health, your relationships. That last paragraph of that project may be not the most important thing that day. So you're going to have to put that off. So.
And your mental health, like I am such the biggest mental health freak ever. I mean, you have, and I wasn't ever for a long time, because I battled high blood pressure, hypertension, you battle, overweightness. I mean, all of these things, you're not getting enough sleep because you're worried about something you got to do. And then, oh my gosh, I forgot to get that thing for my kid, and they're going to be mad at me, so all these things that you're dealing with. But it's like now in my life, if it's going to bring chaos into my mind, like I can't do it. Like I just won't. And I used to be afraid to say no, but no's my word now. Y'all ask me anything. Ask me. I'm going to tell you no.
Yeah, I asked her for a ride this morning and asked her what she told me.
She ignored you.
I had to start walking at like 6, so whatever.
But your mental health.
Back exercise.
We're circling back. But you have to take care of your mind. You do. Like, it doesn't matter if you're work, home, whatever. Like your mind, you have to be first. And we're women. We don't put ourselves first. Why would we do that? Like, oh my gosh, we have kids, but I'm first. In my mind, like I am first after the Lord. I am first, because how am I going to be good for them if I'm a mess? And I can't be a mess trying to make rainbows over here when I'm a darn Tasmanian devil. You know what I mean? So
it's like it's the oxygen mask, right? Like if you don't put your own oxygen mask on first, then how can you save somebody else? And work-life balance is a work in progress for me. But I love what you just shared, Sunny, because truly and honestly, I don't want to be remembered for my work. I want to be remembered for relationships, for my family, for what I've done for my tribe. And so no one's going to care even next month, like what things I checked off on
beautiful
Asana.
That spreadsheet looked.
Exactly.
I will.
Thanks, Amber.
And I agree. I'm a work in progress too, but I try to remind myself that, because I do get down on myself and I'm hard on myself when my daughter's got a project due next week and I've got it all laid out and to make sure that she does this and this and this, but am I in the midst of all this taking care of me? Am I taking care of my relationships? John always tells me, my husband always tells me, you need to get better at responding to people's texts, because I get so wrapped up in what I'm doing. I'm like, oh yeah, I meant to respond.
Well, you always respond to us.
Me too.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, whatever.
We're the glass balls.
We're a glass ball.
Sunny.
Yes.
Are you just now realizing?
But also something I've learned, and I'll say part of my reason for moving on from work at the tribe was I got burnt out.
Yeah.
I really did. I got to where I sort of felt like I was going through the motions, that, maybe wasn't always, everything I was doing wasn't always appreciated or seen. And bouncing back from burnout it happens it takes so much more time than it does to get burned out.
Yes.
Right.
And so you got to you got to do everything in your power to stop from getting to that point, because getting back from it is a much longer
The
road.
anxiety, of like for me, it was when I worked for the tribe, it was making sure I answered that email quick enough, because if I didn't respond, then, or making sure I did this thing and I was, and took notes for that. And then making sure, that high anxiety, you're constantly running off of anxiety. And then now that when you find that headspace where I am now, and remote work is where it's at. I'm going to tell you right now. But it took me a while. It took me a while to get there, because I was functioning off of this freaked outness of I've got to do everything for everyone all the time, and if I don't,
Yes.
But so like you're talking about, Tesia, coming down from that, and just breathing, because
And it's being able to like recognize too, like you know it when you're saying yes, when you're doing these things, because you got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. I got to go to this meeting. I remember one time going to a meeting with OCA or the
Advisory Council, OAC.
Yes. But on the way, I had a meeting for our vocational rehabilitation program. Get out, go into here, get back out, and then hop back into this training. And it's like on the road, on this, go home. And then maybe we have an OC meeting or a committee meeting that evening. My daughter's got a game. We got to do this. So it's like, we know we're functioning whatever. We're not supposed to be like that. And then whenever we hit, but it's a learning. It's progress and how you deal with your life. Sometimes we know, but man, do we take that time to carve it out? No. We'll see each other. We'll be like meeting for our quarterly meetings. And it's like
That's our goal, to get together.
everyone's,
every quarter.
have a group of people, check in with them weekly, and it's like that is not it. Like we cannot because there's so many things. Basketball,
Just be a meme.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's enough. Like for me, like
No, it's not.
when I had meetings last week, and y'all was texting me out in my meetings, like, but yes, it's always a learning. That's why I feel like, but Sunny's right.
Okay, here's the question.
Prioritize.
Here's a question for you. So if you had the opportunity to go back and work for your tribe, would you go back? And if you went back, what would you do different, or would you not go back? Like,
I can answer that one right off.
We're not naming names here either.
No,
Amber.
no. I find that working for myself now, I can determine what I want to do in my day. And if I want to volunteer for any organization, whether it's OC or ACES or, or my tribe or anybody, I have that ability. I can go do anything in education if I want to. And that's beside, the point of making money or having a job, since I work for myself now, thank goodness. But as far as working for an organization, Tesia mentioned not, being recognized for the work you do. We've been talking about being burnt out, all of that stuff. It's not worth it. If I want to be involved in education and help in some way, then I can do that. I can go and volunteer anytime I want. So the answer is no for
That's
that
enough
reason.
for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about you, Tesia?
Well, I think right now, I need some time away. And also, because I grew up, right next to my tribe's headquarters, my family all works for the tribe. I grew up interning, tribal programs, working. So most of my professional experience is at my tribe. So I also felt like, and still feel like, I have a lot to learn about what life outside of working for your tribe looks like. So there's that. But also, I think what you said really resonated with me. And a friend of mine kind of taught me that too, that there are so many ways to be involved. And something I'm still sort of wrestling with is when I worked at my tribe, it was a piece of who I am. It's who I am.
Yes.
And so I could not turn that off when I got home. If I had a student texting me late at night, I felt like I've got to do this. And so I needed a little bit of distance because where I could participate and enjoy it, but not feel like if I didn't get something done, I was letting down all my people, right? So I would like to go back to my tribe in some capacity at some point in the future, but I think things would have to look a little different, and not just on the leadership or tribal side, but also on my own side. I need to change my perspective and learn a little bit more, I think, to be the best that I could be for my tribe.
I think that's important, is recognizing that we don't know everything. Like, I love serving my people. I love serving my Native people. Like, it, you know,
no matter what
what
tribe.
yes, where we come from, there's like 7 or 8 tribal nations, like within a 45-mile radius, where, and it encompasses so much more. We have Riverside Indian School right there. It's not all just Southwest or Southern, you know, Plains tribes there, but there's all these other kids that are there in that community. And the way that I think, in everything that I do, I want it to be good, you know, for education, but then also for the community. Like, just the collaborative work that our tribes could be doing to uplift our community, and you just don't see it happen. So if I ever went back to the tribe, it would be in a leadership role, because I feel like we currently have leaders or, you know, self-defined leaders in leadership roles who don't emanate or, you know, bring out those leadership qualities that I see. So if I ever go back, it would never be to work there. I would work at McDonald's before I mean, I like their French fries. So.
She said no.
Okay. No for right now.
She said no.
But leadership capacity, we have election years. So, I mean, there's always that possibility of creating change, because sometimes I believe in certain, you know, organizations, that change, it does come from the top. Yes, you have these people down here working and doing everything that we've done.
And bottlenecks. It bottlenecks. Like, you do all these things and it goes up to the top and it just stays there. And it's frustrating whenever you're trying to do all these. You put so much of your own time. Like, you go home and then you probably use some time from that, and you put all this blood, sweat, and tears into this, to this pretty package, and you give passion. It, and you get it to them, and then it's like they just put it to the side, or it, so that kind of just deflates you. You know,
so deflating.
So, Misty, you got to answer the question too.
You know, I'm at a point right now where I love being able to lay my head down and go to sleep and not it'd be racing for 3 hours. And it took me a long time to get to this point. Like, my mind was so warped after leaving my tribe that I didn't know if I was coming or going, because I think I cared too much. I wanted I wanted change so badly that it hurt, that it literally hurt me in the end. So it's like, now any decision that I make now, I'm taking 10 steps back. And no one's going to, you're going to wait until that decision comes to my mind, because I'm not going to be put back in that dark space that and it's sad that I'm sitting here saying that my own tribal work or working for my tribe did that to me, but it's just the truth.
Right.
And so I don't think at this stage in life, no, I don't today, no, because I want to make sure if I'm going to go back and work and do that work that I so passionately love, and when I go back, I know I'm going to give 250%. I want to make sure I'm going to be supported, because I wasn't supported the last time. I want to make sure I'm supported this time, and
supported. And then also you're bringing in those perspectives and the new experiences that you have.
Yeah.
We have some leaders and some people who have worked at the tribe sitting in these same positions for years.
My entire life.
Yeah.
And that's all they know.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like, I feel like a lot of us have been in so many different areas, and we talked about travel earlier. Like, yes, it's kind of fun visiting something new, but in meeting new people, but then also the resources and the education that people are doing within Native country and putting out that impacts us, things that we can use and to help grow our programs, data that can be used to, you know, just to support everything that we do. So it's not like, you know, people are going and, well, some people are, I guess, but I know us, like, we do what we do, but man, we bring some good stuff back. And I think that is a big part of being a leader too, is allowing the people that work for you to get training, to get education, to go visit someplace new, because we want that for our kids. We don't want them stuck in the small, same community. Yes, we want them to, we want it to be good for them here. We want to be able to make it better for them, but we also want them to have that capability to leave, come back, or bring something good. What did you learn over here? And we see that with a lot of our Native kids now. A lot of students that were yours, and going to DC, right? And doing that whole leadership. That was super awesome, because I see, I know 2 of our Wichita girls that went are just doing phenomenal. There's no price on that.
And things are different now. The way the world is and leadership, you can't go into an organization and expect butts in the seats, 8 to 5. You can't do this. You can't do that. You got to do this. Pull that typewriter out. You got to answer that. I mean, you cannot. See, I went back to that typewriter. It gives me nightmares. But that's what we're doing. It's like we are crippling ourselves by continuing to think this is how we've always done it, and this is what we're going to do. And if you got somebody new coming in, no, those new ideas, those are scary.
Yeah.
But whenever you hire Tesia, you're also bringing in everybody else on this table, because Tesia consults with us and bounce stuff off just like we do. So I'm like, I wish people would understand that I'm not threatening you, or I really want to help us. Help me help you, kind of thing.
Well, and I want to say one thing, because I'm so happy to be here today. And obviously, we don't work for our tribes anymore, but Carrie Whitlow has transformed the Department of Education of the Cheyenne and Arapaho. And truly, the education department at this tribe is one of the absolute best and nationally recognized. And it's because she brings her full self and her ideas and is willing to have that vision and then put the work and bring the right people in the room with her. Yeah. And so I think that she deserves all the recognition she should get.
And you know what I love about Carrie is the fact that she is how she is right here at this table is how she's going to be in her office, is how she's going to be in D.C. advocating for good causes, is how she's going to be at home or at the basketball game here at 3:30. That she's the same person, and all of those, she puts her professional hat on. Of course, we have to. We can't have our reg just come out all the time. But being the same person all the time makes you trust those people. You know what I mean? So that's what I love and respect about Carrie. And I know the work that she's doing here, people who are underneath her, you can just see she runs a good, tight ship. Not a dictatorship, but she lets everyone do their thing, because you can just feel it. You just know. So it's just leaders like that out there. That
she comes from good people. Hey, my people. Hey, my sister. But but for real, yes, all of that. And y'all don't get to see what we get to see, outside of work, outside of everything, the things we have to juggle. And when we come together and are able to share that part of ourselves, it's not that it's not true in everything that we do, but we have to be strong. We have to be so much in so many different areas. But when we get together, there's this little vulnerability that I appreciate, that I'm able to share, that, I know these women will uplift me. So it's good to have a good group like this.
No competition, no hate. Yeah.
And we're not taking applications, so don't even try.
Group chats were full.
So in light of this conversation and what you all have shared, I was going to ask one question, but I think you all hit on some of the barriers that you have in your positions, right? Support is a big thing. Trust, trusting you with money, trying to build capacity, and trusting your vision and trying to get people to buy into that. That's a lot of work in itself. But now that you all have served your tribes, you serve your nations, and you are so... I think hopefully the listeners can feel that you're passionate about the work that you did there. And it was hard to leave, right? It's hard to move on. But now that you have moved on, because there may be some women in these positions thinking that, oh man, I'm really burnt out and I'm ready. I need to move on, but I'm scared. This is all that I know. This is all that I've done. So what is it like on the other side? Tell us what it's like working from home, working remote, working for an organization where you have a female leadership, female boss. What is that like? I mean, I worked for the Cheyenne Arapaho tribes for 18 years in a leadership management capacity, and I've always had a male supervisor. But then the last year I've had a female supervisor. That's the first time I've ever had a female supervisor. So what is it like? What is that like on the other side and working for a different organization outside of your tribe?
Well, go ahead, you can go ahead, Sunny.
Well, Sunny lives her best life. Like, come on, let's not start with her.
On my nerves.
I know. Always posting these cute videos and all these science projects she's doing, and she's got a garden, and she's ridiculous.
I'm really, now that I'm in my 40s, I'm not, I'm very guarded. You know, John makes fun of me all the time. He's like, you don't go anywhere.
So what? I love it here.
I was in Lawton yesterday for a doctor's appointment, and I got everything I needed to get done for the foreseeable future in Lawton because I knew that I probably wouldn't be going anywhere. So I'm pretty guarded in that way. I try to guard my mental health and do the things I love. And of course, you know, like I said, I'm a business owner, so I do have to get those things done. There is paperwork. There is dealing with the government. There is, you know, emails and stuff like that still, but I'm working out of my home office. I try to, like you said, garden, and probably too focused on my kids. They probably would rather me do something else. But like I said, education's my passion. I can't get rid of that. I can't like walk away from that and like not do that. So I try to either seek out, or when opportunities come my way, I do say no sometimes, but I'm allowed to, and I do try to say yes to opportunities where I can, you know,
make the most impact.
Yes, exactly. So I can help in some way.
Like you don't want to say yes to everything because it's all the education things, and then before you know it, you're so watered down you can't even put good quality work into a project
because
you got
you're
10
back
going.
to where you started years ago.
And I did that for the first year because I left the Kiowa tribe in 2019, and I did that for the first, 2020 was kind of a wash, but we did do stuff. Misty and I did together as consultants for ACES, but I say for the first year, 2 years. I said yes to a lot, but at some point you've just got to say, you know what, I'm going to do what I can.
Yeah.
But
it took a while for me to, like I said, make all my tabs. I had a whole bunch of tabs open, you know, that's kind of, so when I went to work from home, it took me a while to like, is this real? You're really, wait, like, shouldn't I be doing that? Why, you know, then you're all freaked out. I mean, that's how I was, you know, so, but it's different. It is different. It's, you know, the nonprofit that I work for, we are the tribal arm of it. So me and my people over here, that's the only brown folks in the organization. So, and my boss and our boss above her, they're both women. So, our nonprofit actually is full of women. There might be a few men, but the leadership style is different from working at the tribe. Caucasian people they start on time. they take notes.
Oh my goodness.
And then they follow back up with some notes, you know. So I'm like, I think I like, you know, this. I like this, you know. And then I got somebody over here who does grants, and somebody over here who does communications. So I'm like, I ain't got to wear 50 different hats. That's what I do love about the nonprofit I work for now is I can just do my job. And I don't have to make sure I'm doing everybody else's job. And I do appreciate that. But on the other side, do I miss the 50 million things that I'm so accustomed to doing? And I feel like I'm not doing what I should be doing because I'm not running myself ragged. So that's the two, you know, working for what I'm at now. What about you guys with ACES?
I love it. I cannot even explain how much I love what I do, who I'm doing it for, because my immediate boss, Johnny, bomb. Like, he's just the greatest. And then above him, Tesia. Like, if you haven't learned yet, like, she's it.
Best of
I
the
can't
best.
cuss, but you know what I would want to say. And then, like, above her is Kathy. And I've known Dr. Kathy Deerenwater for years because we worked with her through our tribal education departments. And I can't even explain the things that I learned from even my colleagues. They're all super smart. They're all super receptive of ideas. They all bring something to the table. And my job is just that, what I have to do for my job. Like, I don't have to be a counselor. I don't have to be an administrative assistant. I don't have to be a financial analyst. I don't have to be, you know, just doing everything that we've done in tribal education. Not to say that the work that I did there, like, I didn't value it, But man, it was tough. It was hard going, 100 miles an hour. And I think for like 1 year, like I hit it. Like didn't want to do my homework. I've left my kids at a daycare before. Like I've dropped the ball in so many different areas in my life. And back then it would have been like soul crushing, like, oh no. But now it's like, you reach that level of, man, yeah, I messed up. I'm just going to work on that. I'll try it again. Like yesterday, my professor met me after class and she's like, you've been late like every day. And I'm like, this is the best I can do. We only got 2 vehicles. My daughter hit a deer. Like she's got to go to practice. It's playoff season. Like these things are important to my family. Class is important to me. I signed up for this. I'm doing the best I can. I can either stress about it over here or
tomorrow's a new day.
Tomorrow's a new day. Next week I might be an hour early. Hey, you don't know.
Don't make me.
Yeah. So it's like, yes, it's like, trying to handle everything, but we do what we can. And I know I loved what I did, but now, like for real, like love. I'll probably get a Aces tattoo soon. Tasia's face on there. Like I love it that much.
Oh gosh. No, it's been amazing. And it really, for me, like I said, I needed that perspective. I needed to know what it could be, what it could look like. Yeah. And, Amber mentions all the great people we have. And, right at the very top, our president of our organization, Sarah Echohawk, is Pawnee. And I worked for the tribe for a long time. And I worked, really closely with some of our tribal leaders. But, and different at every tribe, but at least in my tribe, it was hard to get FaceTime with our tribal chairman. Mm-hmm. I did not get very much of it. And so I did a lot. I did my best, what I thought, he wanted. And sometimes that wasn't always the case. And it's hard when you don't have that interaction. But I get to meet with our president and our senior vice president every other week. Mm-hmm. And they listen and they remember what we talked about 2 weeks before. Yes. And they take accountability. Yes. We came recently with kind of an issue that had happened within the department. And I mean, to hear our president say, well, you know what? Some of that, I can see where that came from on our end. And, we're working to be better. And I just about fell out of my chair because I thought, that's what it's like when you've got a woman and an Indigenous woman at the top, because it is I feel at ACES we're community minded, and we've got it's a culture where people feel comfortable coming with different ideas and not always agreeing, and that I think is from the bottom to the very top. We have people who will say, I don't like this at the organization, and I want it to be better because I care about this organization. And that's just something that I didn't experience, maybe outside of our department at the tribe, but tribe-wide, I mean, there are a lot of people that were afraid to lose their jobs if they disagreed. And to be at an organization where people feel comfortable about that, I am happy where I'm at.
Yes. I did want to say, hold on. I was thinking of it, and I was like, then I got into it, and I'm like,
she got all worked
up.
I
wanted to say something significant. Leave it at that.
Edit it in later.
Yeah. Yes.
I have no doubt it would have been
mind-blowing,
groundbreaking.
Knock us off our feet. It'll come to you. But and then here, on a serious note, though, I have a daughter, we have daughters, and you think about everything that and this is cliche. Oh, I did it for my kids. Yeah, we say that, right? But that's who I'm worried about is my daughter. Like, to me, I feel like I am comfortably floating, and I am where I am and where God wants me to be. But what obstacles is she going to have to face? All the things we deal with, what is she going to have to face, coming up? So I constantly worry in the things that I say, or how now not so much before, but now in my life, it's like, she's about to graduate from college, and I want to make sure that wherever I step, that it's somewhere she will be welcoming for her too. So I don't want to go out there and turn tables all over everywhere and raising Cain everywhere. I want to make sure if I'm going to do it, it's going to be for something good, and it's going to benefit her and everybody else behind, right. So it's just thinking about our daughters. What are they going to have to face? If this is what we face now, what are they going to face?
Right. That's a big point, like, and I do remember what I was going to say.
Here we go.
But coming in as mothers too, it's like we have that thinking of when we think of our students, when we think of our native kids, like, I promise you, like, that heart is there because we know, if that was our kid, how we would do. But, even our little native kids over here they're not our parents. We don't truly know them, but we're going to advocate for them. We're going to fight for them in every capacity to make sure that when they go into these colleges, when they go into school, that they're represented, that they're seen. Like, that's the work that, man, it drives me. And then what I was going to say on your part was how working with ACEs, like, I know my leadership takes into account, like, not just what's going on in the organization. Yes, we have priorities. Yes, we have deadlines and things we need to do, to meet our grants and needs and priorities. But they also recognize that we are people. We are humans. I got to watch my nephew the other day, and he's just a newborn baby. Like, he was a preemie, and now he's getting bigger. Like, he's actually a regular sized baby. Like, so cute. But I could do that in work. I had my computer. I was working from home. Like, and then understanding the climate of the nation. Like, I think we had a conversation one week where we was talking about what was going on in Pakistan. And it's like, people, like, those things impact other people. We don't know everything that everyone's going through. And for one person to bring that up and say, and had just to even bring it up and say, like, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what's on my mind. And this is how I'm viewing it. And Tesia, accepted that. She understood those feelings and we had a conversation on it. You couldn't do that at all in any meeting. I don't even think we've ever had a conversation about anything except for one person's viewpoint about all the wonderful, great things they were doing, but not anybody else. Like, we didn't have specific topics. We didn't have time for mental health
Reflection
and to center
time.
ourselves and to,
Hey, and our organization gives you 3 days of mental health days. So I was like, what is
we
this?
get personal day. And that was the other thing,
no questions
too.
asked.
And they don't ask you why are you going? Can't you move it around? Those types of things. And then when the Kansas shooting happened, the Kansas City Chiefs, our corporate organization is located in Lawrence, Kansas. So the next day after it had happened, we had a directors meeting. All the directors, we have a teams meeting. They specifically, they said, well, you know what? We're not going to talk about business. This happened yesterday. We are going to open up the floor for everyone to express yourselves. And did you have any staff there? Were any of your family there? If you want to share that, and literally a whole hour of everyone just kind of, it was a mental health moment for everyone to, and even he was like, even if you don't have anyone there, how does it affect you? So I'm like, wow, someone to take the time to ask. And of course, there were some of our people who had family there, and we're talking about how scared they were and how stressed they were. And then another person said, well, this happened at our school before, so it triggered some, some of these things. So it was, I really appreciated that. And I really wish our tribes would care enough to just stop for a second and just make sure your people are okay. Because I know business has to go on, but we got other things going on besides just if we got to get that application out.
Right.
How is that person going to take care of your people, your students, your elders, all these different, how you prioritize your elders, your children? How do the people working at your tribe, how are they going to take care of them people if they're not taken care of? We talked about putting that oxygen mask on, and we don't give them that space and that time. But I will say too, like, recognizing those different, intersecting identities that we have. Like, Carrie, I think she put out through education, there was Black History Month.
Yes.
And I know, like, some of my friends, my kids, like, they're not only this native, they have different cultures and ways of being. And representing themselves, and how awesome that our tribal education department would recognize our different identities. So, like, kudos, like, Carrie, I mean, you're
doing the thing, girl. You're doing the thing.
You are it.
Your tattoo can be next to Tasia's.
This side.
I want her back.
I want her heart.
Little lone wolf, and I'm gonna put you by it, and a little Tasia, little Sunny.
Can I have one?
Yeah.
in the armpit.
Where the wolf pack was won.
I want mine right here, right on your neck.
They'll misspell it and put musty.
Shoot.
Okay, last question to kind of wrap it up. And I'm glad you brought up your daughter, and I'm glad you brought up our daughters, and we have nieces, and we have a lot of I have nieces in college right now, and we know a lot of young women that, maybe they want this to be their career, right? Working at a tribal organization. Oh, I want to go work for my tribe. I think that narrative is changing where people are actively wanting to come back home,
Yes.
getting their degree,
Yes.
wanting to work. So what would you tell these young women coming into these spaces what advice would you have for them?
I would say, I know that we came in with a lot of negative viewpoints, I would say, but the biggest part of it is having that passion to serve. You will get that fulfilled working for your tribe. It feels good to be there for your people. It feels good to do good things, that are important to you, important to them. So you just have to know that. I think realizing and recognizing, why you want it to be here in the first place, and just kind of keeping that at the forefront, because it's going to be hard if you're not working for someone who's supportive and all these things we talked about for leadership. If they're not that type of leader, it's going to be hard. But the main thing is just to remember why you're there, what you're doing it for, who you're doing it for. That's the big one.
And be your true, authentic self. Do not go in there not know. Well, you're not going to know anyway, but don't assume you have to be a certain way to please other people to get the job done. If I could turn back the hands of time, I would have just done it how my mind had envisioned it to be, rather than listening to the higher ups to tell me what they think it should be.
Yes,
because
staying true to yourself.
if they knew what it should be, then they wouldn't have hired you, So let me do my job, so be your true authentic self.
And I think to Amber's point, being passionate about serving your tribe and serving your people and serving those students, but even if it's not your tribe. So I came from working for my tribe at the college, and going to the Kiowa tribe and being a Native woman working for another tribe was eye-opening to me, and I loved it. I loved it so much working over there. But serving the Kiowa students became my passion at that time. So I was happy to do that. But also, in addition to that, is surrounding yourself with those smart people and a good group like this that you can bounce off ideas off of and have a supportive, because it is going to get hard. So to have that group to support you and kind of hold you up sometimes, I think is also important.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I think finding your circle, or your circles, your communities, is so important, and it is so fulfilling. You get to really see, I think, working at a tribe, the direct impact that you can have on people, and that is something so powerful. And I want for our tribes to be tribal citizens who've got that mission, got that passion in their hearts. And we need people to move back or to stay around, in town to do that work. Because I will say, and it's not just at my tribe, but it's different cultures and different perspectives when you've got people in charge who don't understand where we come from as Native people. So we've got to have those voices, and a lot of the things that we talked about needing to get changed, they're going to get changed from people being in those seats and at those tables and at the very, very top, changing that culture.
Yes, because if any students are listening, or any Native person who's interested in working for their tribe, we need you. We need that representation. We need someone with your dreams, your vision, because you are the only person who thinks in that capacity, who's wanting whatever it is you're wanting for the tribe. Now it's coming in and bringing others on board and foreseeing that vision out, doing the work behind it. It's going to be a lot, but knowing that you're doing it for something good, man, we need just so many good people doing good things. We want that. We want that for our people. So, come on. Hey, come on. Go work for my tribe. They got a lot of openings.
You're hired.
And not being able to step outside the box. I know when we started, all of us, we as a group started boards that we, like Cameron, for instance, and local colleges, that we could go and we could speak directly to their administration. Hey, we've got students here, and this is what they're telling us, because we had that direct line of communication. So being able to step outside the box, because that hadn't been done before that we were aware of anyway.
Yeah.
That, so what hadn't been done before? We saw the potential, we saw how it would impact them. So we went to OU, we went to Cameron, we went to these colleges and spoke and, tried to advocate.
Yes, and knowing that it's okay to, have a voice. Like, you belong there. Like, I don't know how many different tables we have been at, individually, together, where we're the only Native people, only Native women, just advocating and having a voice. And no, we don't encompass everybody's voice, but just having someone there to say, hey, maybe look at it this way. Why don't we try this? Like, that's so important. Let me stop.
Well, I'll stop you there because we're probably past time. But I also want to say, many thank yous to you all for coming here to Concho. I know that it's an hour plus drive, and Tesia doesn't know directions. Like, she don't know.
I made it here.
Yeah, she made it here. So amazing. Thank you,
for
Tesia.
my maps. Falling carrier.
So I just want to say that it is such an honor for me to have you all here, because it's a little selfish too, because I know you all are my friends, and I know this topic is important to me, and hopefully it'll be important for other people to hear, especially young female leaders that are interested in these type of positions. But also, I am very honored because you all are incredible professionals. You all are so great to have as colleagues, but I'm also honored to call you my friends and my sisters. And we've reached this level of friendship where, yes, we are at OC, let's go to dinner. We are at NIEA, let's go to dinner, let's hang out. But now we're in this space where we text daily, have a group text. And, I know Tesia, last year we were at Hill Week in DC, and she was telling me challenges she was having. She's leaving her position. She's moving on. We're having like these deep conversations of like career moves and what I'm doing. And yes, can I bring you along? I can help you. Amber, hey, I've left my job. I'm looking for, what do you guys know? What opportunities are out there? So that's such an important thing to have. But we've also, welcomed each other into our homes. We're Sunny. We've all been to Sunny's home. She has these grand parties, right? These Halloween parties, Christmas parties where we get to come to her home. Yeah, just us, but
There's nothing great.
but she makes these incredible
Beautiful
charcuterie.
spreads.
Yes, charcuterie boards. Our children have met one another. They've played with one another. And it's such an honor to be able to do that, because these positions can be lonely, and it does get lonely where you're having these situations happen and you don't know who to talk to, because you don't. Who do we talk to? But we have each other, and we get to have those conversations with one another, and we get to praise one another, which sometimes it's like, okay, stop, I'm not that great.
I'm really not that great.
I know. You're embarrassing me. But that we can praise one another, we can uplift one another. And like these ladies have said, there's an opportunity. Hey, I know her, Carrie, you can work with us on this grant. We're consultants with one another. It's just such a special thing to have. And I don't know if everyone has that, but I hope that they do.
Yes.
Especially women, and being professionals and working and trying to, find a career and living our lives and doing all of these things. So the next podcast, we'll talk about relationships. No, I'm just kidding.
I need about 5 hours on that one.
We don't want to go there. No.
My heart stopped.
Start crying
But
and everything.
our goal is, though, try to get together every quarter and see each other in person. Our last excursion was to a Nelly concert at a Grand Casino, and we got to eat dinner. That's the main thing we always eat. Try to do some type of activity. So even if it was for a few hours, it was just so, we didn't want to go home, because we just were in deep conversation talking about who's running for office and, political strategy and all of these things. But I do want to say thank you,
Thank you for having
coming
us.
here
Yes.
and sharing
Thank
your
you.
stories and experiences. It's so important for people to hear. And you all are so special to me. So thank you.
Miigwech.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.